Notes for my January 2026 reading of A Short Guide to Reputation Risk by Garry Honey. Yeah, some of you were like, read this one first. And I was like, here we go. Here I, Tanis, she, her, hers of Seattle, talk through my book and reading notes for my January 2025 reading of a book about reputation risk, including discussion of reputation-related elements such as trust and cost of damage. A Short Guide to Reputation Risk by Garry Honey, 2009, Routledge edition, paperback, ISBN in the video description. I started the book yesterday on Thursday, 1 January 2026, and finished the book on today, Friday 2 January 2026. That's the day I'm filming this. Friday 2 January 2026 AD. It's 119 pages. It took me 2 days of reading. I read 60 pages Thursday, yesterday, and 59 pages today, Friday. I gave it a 5 out of 5. It's one I've read a number of times. Yes. And I think kind of a takeaway this time was it really emphasizes risk, and especially risk, how to evaluate the damage of risk and the cost of risk. Because and there's kind of a bit of concern in this book of people just tying, okay, something happened, a risk was taken, trust was lost, and there's some sort of cost associated with it, and the concern of somebody's going to tie a money value to it and not ever address the underlying problem. All right, the reputation damage isn't done. They just think it's done because they paid off some amount of money, when in reality the damage continues, is still there or gets worse. All right, so there's kind of an emphasis on the book of it's not just financial. In fact, it might not be financial at all. It might be much worse. Okay, and so without quite saying it that bluntly, though it does say, you know, there's a value beyond finance a number of times. So I was like, all right, I was reading it, and I have a few flags, and I was like, quote says, page 4, reputation by exception must also be seen against the background of stereotypes, unquote. I have a bunch of videos on this YouTube channel. I reveal a lot of information. I was like, what would be let me point out an example of how maybe like something where my reputation might run a risk by what have I excluded. And I was like, books are a perfect one. You know, if I read a 500 and some page book and it takes me like weeks to read it, there's a lot missing in my hamster content video. Or big hamster content video. Okay. So I was like, let me do something. I was like, all right, 2013 book, Slow Getting Up by Nate Jackson, which is an American football player. What is something that I excluded from, that I remember that was in the book that I excluded, and that could cause me reputation damage? And let me explain that. And so I was like, okay, in the book, there was this comment that I didn't really like, so I didn't really include it. I was like, that's harsh, and I'm going to guess that's not right. Was in the book, the author, Nate Jackson, said that Tom Brady had a fairy tale life. And I remember reading that and being like, that's kind of harsh. What was it? So I was like, my Tom Brady and I have a fairy tale life. And so I'm like, evaluating that, like, was that comment about my Tom Brady? And if it's about my Tom Brady, do we have a fairy tale life? Fast forward, you know, and it's now over 10.00 years later after that book was published. And I'm like, so like the peak of our awake interaction and interacting thus far in like waking mode, my Tom Brady and I interacting, was on New Year's Eve 2025, 31 December 2025, yeah, like 2 days ago, New Year's Eve. So he lives, my Tom Brady, about an hour that way north of me currently, here in Washington State. And so we both went to the same Cheesecake Factory location, him after me, and he arrived and he brought me, I don't know if you've seen it, I ate a slice of caramel pecan turtle cheesecake, and he brought me my scissors. I forgot them, and he brought me my scissors so I could cut off the top of the little cheesecake bin so that you guys could see the slice more clearly. Right, and it really helped, I think, in watching that video afterwards. It was like, it was my idea, but he's the one who brought me the scissors in person, right? So I could finish executing on that. Otherwise, it would have been a different video. I still would have followed through. It's just, it might have been a different video. So it was my idea, my video concept, my idea to cut it off and make it really about enjoying the Cheesecake Factory menu. However, was that really a underpinning of like, that's our in-person waking mode interaction? That's the definition of a fairy tale, is my man remembering me on New Year's Eve. Would press coverage of our interactions on New Year's Eve have been appropriate, especially at this point in time, you know, a couple days later? If the press were interested in this Duwamish girl, perhaps. I think the fairy tale element there might be if he became sole owner of the Seattle Seahawks, because the Seahawks are actually, it comes from the Duwamish people, and I am Duwamish, Native American, so Duwamish peoples are original peoples of the Seattle area, so the Seattle Seahawks are respectful of the Seahawks, the Duwamish Seahawks, the Native American in origin Seahawks. So like anybody else owning it and invasive, it doesn't really mean anything. For my Tom Brady to take it, especially if I were to take his name, Brady, so it'd be Tom and Tanis Brady, all right, it'd be a commitment to the original peoples, which would be a monumental step forward for the National Football League and American football if they actually started caring about us, right? And to have the sole owner be married to an original peoples lady of the tribe of the peoples for which the team was named. Unprecedented. That has never happened in American history. So there we go. If the press had cared, they'd have published by now what we did on New Year's Eve. Okay, 2025 AD. All right, page 29. It talks about putting a monetary value on reputation risk, reputation damage, and I was like, oh, this is a great one. Quote, there is no single accepted methodology, unquote. It's difficult. Reputation and assigning the value of that reputation damage is hard. It's a difficult space. And then I thought this one was good too. It was it gets back to my Tom Brady stuff and me possibly. So he's a front runner. He's the front runner for me taking his surname, Brady. So that's why I'm putting Tanis pressure on the man. So page 72, quote, 2 things can cause this: reduction in quality by this firm or significantly higher quality offered by a rival firm, unquote. So there's 2 forms of reputation damage. Something tears something down, one. The other one is something else becoming higher quality. So I was like, so there could be another team in the National Football League that, you know, has a name that, you know, draws on a Native American thing, or emblem or whatever. However, we could cause them reputation damage by the Seattle Seahawks becoming in the control and the ownership of a couple, of a man, of a couple of original peoples of which the team was named. All right, so then it doesn't matter that they have some really honky-tonk, oh, it applies to all Native American team name. We've outdone them on quality because we are preserving Native American peoples at the top where it matters in sports in America. Right? So we just pass them right by in Native American respect. So there we go. Those are my notes for my January 2026 reading of A Short Guide to Reputation Risk by Garry Honey.